By early next week, the Midwest and the East Coast could be in for potentially a significant and concerning severe weather outbreak. If we were to take a look at the latest depiction of the GFS model right now, we do see that there's a pretty large area of scattered thunderstorms extending through the northern Midwest as well as the Pacific Northwest, where we do see a very large area of rain showers moving through the area, and we do see some snow showers in the higher elevations of the Pacific Northwest, which shows that there's plenty of cold air behind this trough to fuel this severe weather outbreak that's expected to occur by early next week. Moving forward with the forecast, we do see that there's going to be a small trough that moves through the Midwest by tomorrow. We should see a marginal to slight risk of severe thunderstorms throughout portions of the Midwest, pretty much just to the west of the Mississippi River Valley. This includes areas like Iowa, maybe some areas of Missouri and Oklahoma could get involved with an isolated severe thunderstorm, as large hail and damaging winds should be the primary concern with these thunderstorms. As this low pressure system continues to head further eastward, there won't be as much cold air behind it for necessarily there to be a tornado threat, and it'll be pretty surprising if we do see a tornado out of this trough, but it's at least something to be aware of, that there could be isolated severe thunderstorms by this Sunday. But I wouldn't say the worst of the severe weather will occur until Monday, where we're going to see a small trough that's going to sneakily move through the western half of the United States, where we do see that there's going to be snow showers in the higher elevations of California, Nevada, extending into Utah and Wyoming as well, which shows that there's going to be just enough cold air behind it that's going to interact with a large ridge that's going to build right over the Midwest for a high level of instability to develop. And we do see a large area of severe thunderstorms throughout the Midwest, where I'll say the worst of the severe weather will be extended throughout most of Iowa, northern Illinois. So Chicago could get involved with a major severe weather outbreak by early next week. It's still a bit uncertain how exactly severe this outbreak will be. We're really going to need to determine how much cold air will be behind this trough, but it seems like it's going to be a growing consensus that there's going to be a pretty significant severe weather outbreak, as there is a higher risk in the areas I just mentioned, like northern Illinois, Iowa, as well as northern Missouri, where you should experience large hail and damaging winds. And I wouldn't rule out the possibility of an isolated tornado as well. This won't necessarily be an extreme, I wouldn't say an extreme severe weather outbreak, as there just isn't enough cold air to create enough wind shear for a major tornado outbreak to occur. But there is still that possibility with this much instability that exists, that's going to exist by early next week. So make sure to be aware of that. And even into Tuesday as well, we're going to see another round of severe thunderstorms develop. And on Tuesday, we could see the severe weather outbreak move into the mid-Atlantic states as well, because of course, over the past week, it's been much colder than average throughout the northeast, as we've of course saw a pretty large Greenland ridge block in the middle of the Atlantic, which has been forcing a lot of the cold air to meander and linger around the northeast for quite some time. And as this warm core low pressure system moves towards the northeast and interacts with the cold air that's still attempting to move out of the northeast, we could see that possibility of some severe thunderstorms, more so in the mid-Atlantic states like Virginia, North Carolina, and maybe as far north as Washington, D.C. That's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities, as I'll say the highest risk would be on Wednesday, where we do see where you could see the potential of severe thunderstorms in these areas. It's still uncertain how exactly how significant this severe weather threat will be, because like I said, this is around 4 to 5 days out from impacting you guys in the mid-Atlantic. So we're going to really need to see how much cold air stays around by the time we approach the Wednesday timeframe. But I will say that it's becoming increasingly likely that areas of the Midwest, such as Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, will experience at least marginal to moderate severe weather outbreak, and so will the mid-Atlantic states. So make sure to pay close attention attention to that, as it seems like there's going to be enough instability for this severe weather outbreak to exist as we approach early next week, as it seems as both of the computer models, the GFS and the European model, are in pretty good agreement regarding the likelihood of severe weather by early next week, where it seems pretty likely at this point. So make sure to prepare for the possibility of large hail, damaging winds, and isolated tornadoes with this severe weather outbreak. I'm going to briefly show you guys what the European model is forecasting, to show you guys that the European model is also pretty certain regarding the likelihood of severe weather. We do see that throughout Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon, we could see that possibility of some isolated severe thunderstorms. But like I said, the second low pressure system should be when the worst of the severe weather occurs. And that's what the European model is exactly forecasting on the Monday and Tuesday time frame, where we do see pretty large area of thunder showers develop in the northern portion of Illinois, southern Wisconsin, as well as Iowa. We could see some thunderstorms, and the Ohio River Valley as well, and this could extend into the mid-Atlantic later during the week, where we do see that on the Wednesday time frame we could see some thunderstorms move through the mid-Atlantic. But the key difference is that the European model is a little bit faster in moving the thunderstorms towards the East Coast, where you would more likely see the threat occur on Tuesday rather than Wednesday, which is what the GFS model was forecasting. We're going to need to wait and see which of the two computer models are will be the more correct one, as there's still some key differences between two. Because, for example, the European model is expecting the severe weather outbreak to be a little bit less significant than the GFS model, mainly because the European model doesn't expect as much cold air to surround the center of circulation. So of course there's a little bit less instability for the threat to be as significant, but it's still very similar when it comes they're both still very similar when it comes to the exact trajectory of the two low pressure systems, as well as exactly how much instability there will be. While the European model does expect less instability, it isn't so much less, to a point where the chance of a severe weather outbreak subsides in the Midwest, because it's still likely it's going to occur by early next week. So make sure to pay close attention to that. So let me show you guys the forecasted convective available potential energy levels as we approach the next couple of days. And we do see that the energy levels are quite high throughout Texas, well over 3,000 joules per kilogram. So there's plenty of lift, plenty of convection that's expected thanks to convective energy levels this high, just north of where the energy levels are very high. So make sure to keep that in mind in the Midwest, and this should continue for quite some time, where if I were to continue to move forward, the energy levels will still remain high. And even going into the Sunday time frame, the energy levels will be very high, well over 3,000 joules per kilogram, and we do see we could even exceed 4,000 on Monday, when the worst of the severe weather will occur. And this will bring a pretty high risk of severe weather throughout much of the Midwest, as the energy level should remain high for quite some time. So there's going to be plenty of instability for this low pressure system to work with for severe thunderstorms to develop, and we'll even see those energy levels move a bit eastward to bring those bring the severe thunderstorms towards the mid-Atlantic as well. But let me show you guys the winds in the upper levels to really show you guys if there's a possibility of tornadoes. And we do see that the winds won't change a lot with height, so the chance of a tornado with this severe weather outbreak is definitely not very high, thanks to the wind shear not being that strong. But there's still that possibility, especially when we do see lift that's this strong throughout the Midwest. So be aware of the possibility of isolated tornadoes. You never know, but it's certainly not going to be necessarily the main threat with this severe weather threat, at least what the computer models are suggesting right now. So I want to show you guys a 500 millibar height anomaly forecast for much of the northern United States because it really gives a good indication of what the computer models are forecasting when it comes to the amount of instability. So the main steering flow that's expected to steer the storm toward the severe thunderstorms towards the Midwest is going to be this ridge that's going to extend just to the south of this storm and bring a stronger westerly flow to bring the main catalyst towards the northern Midwest. And we do see that there's just enough instability for some severe weather to occur. Of course, we're in the month of May, so there's definitely going to be a lot more heat for this storm to work with. So even if there isn't necessarily a ton of cold air behind this storm system, there's still going to be plenty of lift thanks to the fact that during the month of May, the temperatures are a lot warmer, and the warmer temperatures means that the air molecules move a lot quicker, which means that it's able to absorb a lot more water vapor, and we see a lot more lift. And since the air molecules are a lot less dense, and that's going to create the possibility of severe weather, even if there isn't a ton of instability associated with this low pressure system like you'd expect, which is the reason why the convective available potential energy levels are so high. But if we were to take a look at the GFS model's forecast around the same time period, we do see that the GFS model is expecting a little bit more instability, which means that the GFS model wants to definitely enhance the risk of severe weather by early next week. Take a look at the GFS model's forecast in the same time period, and we do see that there's just slightly more instability. We see that the ridge is slightly stronger just to the east of this storm system, and we do see just a little bit more cold air surrounding the storm system, so the risk is higher in the GFS model scenario. But for the most part, they're both in pretty good agreement that there's going to be a severe weather outbreak by early next week, so keep that in mind whether the GFS model is correct or the European model. So now I want to show you guys the probability forecast of severe weather over the next few days. So this is for today. We do have a slight risk in and around Texas and the central portion of Nebraska for hail, and we do have an even smaller risk when it comes to damaging winds and tornadoes for today. But going into tomorrow, we do see that the chance does enhance as we're going to see a little bit more convective energy, but it's still slight for the most part when it comes to the probability of hail and damaging winds. But going into Sunday and into Monday, that's when the risk certainly should rise, where we do see that on the Monday time frame, the probability of severe weather is definitely a lot higher, where we could see close to a 50% chance of experiencing a severe thunderstorm in the red, and this extends just north of the Ohio River Valley as well, and this could include the big cities like St. Louis and Chicago. Is right at the doorstep of a major risk of severe weather, and there could be a possibility of tornadoes, like I said, but the main threat I think will be damaging winds and large hail, but don't rule out the possibility of a tornado. So here's my overall forecast when it comes to the major severe weather pattern that's expected to build by early next week. So if you're in the red, this is where the highest risk of severe weather will be, where you're at of course the highest risk of damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. It should be the worst at the Monday to Tuesday timeframe, while for the Mid-Atlantic it should be the worst during the Wednesday timeframe, and this extends further southward as well, where in the orange you have, I'll say, a moderate risk of severe weather, so make sure to prepare accordingly in a lot of these areas. But thank you guys for watching.